All right, let's get her going. The Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, Jen Rolnick with you all for the next 2 hours. This is our Leaf edition of the show. But no matter where you are, where you're listening and watching, Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus, and now on our YouTube channel, for those of you that cannot catch us live, that is always an option worldwide. And we have some loyal watchers
all over the globe
on YouTube.
Thank you, yes. Iceland and South Africa. We appreciate the support.
Alaska.
Shout out. Yeah, we do have Alaskan support. That is true. Sportsbeard, our guy.
And wherever you get your podcast is also download us and give us a rating and review if you ever get a chance. So 8 games around the National Hockey League. For the next hour, we'll focus on the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Edmonton Oilers. When we speak of Austin Matthews over the last few years, it was always about how close is he to a Connor McDavid. And that is still debatable today. The eye of the beholder. It can range. But am I safe to say, guys,
yes,
that tonight we can dub this game as the world's best shooter versus the world's best skater? Am I safe to go down that path?
Yeah, no one's going to yell at you. I know in Edmonton it's a big deal if you ever imply that there's any sort of competition between the two. So yes, we will give him the best shooter title. And McDavid best skater. Oh, McKinnon might have something to say about that these days. But
yeah. After watching a couple of McKinnon nights, I'm not sure McDavid's a better skater than McKinnon.
He does points.
It's just visually they're two very different skaters.
Yes.
To me. And it's just the power that McKinnon has to me.
Yeah.
It's more effortless looking with McDavid, but to me it's McKinnon. They're both, here's the thing. Both pretty good.
Yeah, they get around.
Can this be also deemed a little bit of a redemption night for Austin? Because I'll just flat out say it. He did not stand up to the challenge versus Nate McKinnon, who's considered one of the best players in the world. He gets a second chance against Connor tonight, but Nate ate him up Saturday night.
Yeah. He dashed 3 in that game. It was no good. Yeah. This is the chance for him. And he always gets up for these games. This is always a pretty good battle. And I feel like I put in the lineup that I think McDavid has 31 points in 21 games against Toronto. I think Matthews has, I'm just looking at it here, maybe 11 goals in 17 games against the Oilers. So they both kind of rise to the occasion for this one. And they're, Edmonton versus Toronto matters. Big rivalry. That barn will be buzzing tonight. Like, it's a big one.
Well, we're going to get a thought out of Sheldon Keefe on our Kippers Clippers momentarily. But, JB, it was a tough weekend for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And no question about it. But if they come up with a good effort, if by chance they find a way to beat the Edmonton Oilers tonight and shut down a 10-game 10-game winning streak. I mean, based on what we've seen out of these guys in the last few years, would you be like really, really surprised if they found a way?
No.
Because I wouldn't, based on sometimes these guys' ability to rebound.
Yeah, and not just rebound. Yeah, rebound is a big part of it too, but like, we have seen this team historically play to the level of their opponent when they know they're in for a good game. You tend to get a pretty good game out of them. I would say the pressure after their bad weekend, going up against the Oilers, this is like the prime, you get a good Leafs game spot. Hate to be Jinxie McJinxer pants here, but that's a tough name to say.
Easy for you to say.
But yes, this is a game you typically get a good Leafs performance.
Are you feeling better going
after
into
what he just said there?
Try to say McJinxer pants. It's not an easy one.
Good.
Sammy, where's Leaf Nation feeling the challenge tonight, coming off 2 losses on the weekend?
I'll say Leafs Nation, a.k.a. the Zigzags dressing room last night. The morale is not high about the Leafs. It's low. It's low coming off that weekend. But here's what I'll say. Everything you laid out there is true. And they do bounce back in these kind of games. They surprise you a lot of times when you're expecting them to get beat the worst. Like, I feel like they went out on that road trip and we were worried about them against the Kings, and they had one of their best efforts of the year. And I think the questions about Keefe have been getting louder and louder, and we've talked about it, and everybody's talking about it. If you don't see a response from him tonight, that will be concerning.
I'd say it'd be bad news bears for the coach for them to not get that typical pushback.
Like if they don't come out there and look really good and their stars look good and they're really responding, I would be concerned.
Well, Sheldon Keefe has looked at this game and said, I don't want to go into this with a bunch of brand spanking new lines. Matthews and Marner are going to play together again. Tavares and Nylander are going to play together again. Domi and Yarncroc, all down the right side. It's the same. Kampf and Gregor, all the same. A little bit of shuffling on the left side, but things are kind of shuffled there. Holmberg still stays up top. Nyes is going to join Tavares and Nylander. Bertuzzi, Domi, Yarncroc.
Including another goaltending change for the Toronto Maple Leafs as Martin Jones will get back in net tonight. We'll come off of our first Kippers Clipper of our show and then talk about those changes. But let's go to Sheldon Keefe on prepping against world-class McDavid tonight.
Just making sure that where you need to be when it's time to defend and check, but also just how much harder the puck is to come by and how much you need to value it when you do get a chance to get it. That's really it. I do think coming off that Colorado game, it helps us for this one here in terms of the preparation. Different teams and such, but there's certainly similarities there in terms of effectiveness on special teams and then with elite caliber players. So. Yeah, they got lots of confidence. They've put together a nice couple months here, and we're going to have to be at our best. And in these situations in the past, we have been. So I look forward to competing tonight.
There it is. He's banking on it.
Yeah. Wow. First of all, you better load up here. Your two lines again. So It's right back to Matthews and Marner.
But Holmberg,
Tavares, and Nylander. And Holmberg is the one exception where he stays on a line. And hey, listen, he's been great.
Yeah.
Just in terms of making things happen, big body, stripping pucks, hard forechecks.
That left side on that line isn't asked to be Gretzky. You have a very specific niche role.
Yeah.
It's get the puck back, be defensively responsible.
But at some point, they're going to have to contribute. And Holmberg's getting points.
Yeah.
You run shotgun with those guys. You can't have a 15-15 season.
No, and neither Nyes or Bertuzzi have been running away with top 6 point getting, whatever this season. So good to give someone else a little opportunity here. I'm excited about that.
I do like the idea of Holmberg going up there. This is a big game. I guess they've watched him play over the last little while, and they think he's ready for this kind of test. But this does feel like a different animal going against McDavid. And I know they did it against against Colorado, and then they went for the full game against Detroit, right? All these games are so quick. But I don't know. This seems like a bit of a desperation move to me.
Holmberg, let me just say, if I told you guys coming out of training camp that they would be going into January and I gave you the numbers that Nyes and Bertuzzi had and that Holmberg would be on a number one line against McDavid in January, you would have looked at me like I had three heads.
And
Absolutely.
Nobody's injured. It's not like we're desperately filling spots. That's where we're at. So, they probably need someone by trade deadline. I think there's 50 days till the trade deadline.
Yeah.
When you talk about all the needs at defense, it's going to be hard to also fill that spot.
Now, I have not liked Matthew Nyes' game for a while now. And is this just part of the learning curve of being a pro? I mean, that's what I've basically come to, that there's peaks and valleys. And I'm not sure if coming off the weekend, I would have put Matthew Nyes back into a top 6 with Tavares and Nylander right away. I like Bertuzzi a lot more than Matthew Nyes right now.
Do you want to hear what Sheldon says about Bertuzzi?
Or Nyes, because we have a clip on both those guys.
Yeah.
What would you prefer? Nyes, you mentioned Nyes.
Yeah,
so
let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go to his thoughts on Matthew Nyes.
Yeah. We're seeing a young player that's adjusting to the league. He's been playing a lot with Matthews on the top line, which comes with it, the top matchups, top D pairs. it's challenging. And then we've talked about this throughout the season. You're still adjusting to the pace of the league. I don't know where exactly he's at, but he's probably already here at the midway point for us. He's probably already played as many or more games than you're going to play in a college season. Like there's a lot of things that are happening for a young guy. So sometimes just taking a step back, can help him. I look back to he was sick at one time not too long ago and came back from that and was probably ready to play, but I just felt giving him an extra day could help him. And then he came back, after just missing one game extra from being sick, was shot out of a cannon when we played. I think it was Pittsburgh after that, and it just shows at times with a young guy, if you take a step backwards, it can help him just manage everything that comes with being a first year NHL player, first year pro.
But putting him back on is a step back up again, right? It's not taking a step back.
Yeah. Nyes has the most games he played in university in a season was 40. Tonight, 40 games and half the length he usually has done that in junior hockey. The most he ever played in a year, 44. So the kid has never played more than 44 hockey games in a season, and he's already about there, and it's January. So to Keefe's point, it's like, can you find him breaks in the schedule? I don't know that you want to scratch him, but just back him off a little bit more here and there. You're right. Top six, maybe you think too soon for him he didn't earn his way back necessarily.
Again, you're not dealing, as you said, out of strength right now on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
So just a little bit, probably the ask is big right now for Matthew Knives to go back and be with Tavares, and we'll get into that. But I want to hear his Tyler Bertuzzi, and then we'll kind of frame the whole left side up.
Sounds good.
No, I would say inconsistent. I would say for me, it's taken him a while to get going in each game that we've played here of late. I think when the game gets going, he's in it. He's competitive. At times, the game gets away from him a little bit early, but. To me, Bert has played good hockey for us here for a good stretch of time now, and it seems the harder, more competitive, and more important the game is, the better we get from him. Not the game in Colorado, there's a bit of an exception there, but he has been played very good for us, so he's an important guy.
I liked him with Marner.
It's a nice note, by the way, that he has played good in big games. You liked him with Marner, eh?
Listen, I did.
Mm-hmm.
I think... Yes, I haven't seen Marner get too many tap in empty net goals.
I see.
And I don't know, just a little bit of chemistry right there.
Yeah.
Was enough for me to say that it's a nice different look. So
that's the thing that's jumped out to me the most that I didn't really know about him is his passing. It's Bertuzzi's passing.
Well, he's nothing like what I thought he would be like.
No, I guess the games I watched him play again with Detroit and Boston, he was just more pissed off those nights. I'm not sure what it is, but it's just his passing has been one of the most pleasant surprise for me for his game.
It's funny. I was going for a walk today, and I was listening to an article on Pontus Holmberg. Bloke did it. Yeah, that's kind of how I roll. And he's talking about how Holmberg is like so quiet and reserved, and like he doesn't want to upset anyone ever. I was like, you do kind of see that on the ice, right? He's not like in anyone's face. I was like, God, can the Leafs just get someone who isn't that? And then I thought, wasn't that Tyler Bertuzzi? Yes. He's the only guy in the league who didn't want to get vaccinated. He's not afraid to make waves. He doesn't care. Like he'll stand up.
Oh no, without a doubt, he doesn't care.
But he hasn't happened in a game. There hasn't been a game where I've been like, whoa, he's a jerk tonight.
There was. Early in the season,
he punched one Red Wing in one scrum, and you've talked about it 10 times.
And he speared the goalie in the.
Okay, I remember the game. There was a moment in a game. 41 games have been played.
Yes,
this is not the guy I thought they were getting, who is a good passer, in tight, makes great little small plays, doesn't skate well, doesn't get in anyone's face. He's a nice player, but he's not what I thought they were getting. I was told something different. Grit.
Producer though too. Like you thought you were going to find a way to get easy 60 points.
What do you have, 10 points in the first round for Boston last year? You had 20 on the Leafs all year this year?
The one thing that
in the top 6.
The one thing that is concerning for me on this second line is all three of these guys are hitting their worst stretch of the season.
All three of them are hitting their worst stretch.
Nyes,
Yeah.
Tavares, and Nylander.
Yeah.
Like Nylander's window of like the last 3 or 4 games is the worst stretch we've seen all year long.
What happened before that?
I don't know. Did he find some money?
Or did they take away his motivation at the apex of his career year?
And Tavares, his production has sunk like a stone the last dozen games, did you say?
Yeah, in the last 10 games, he has 2 goals.
Just
4
hasn't
points.
looked
-5.
his usual kind of consistent look.
Mm-hmm.
Like he hasn't been a threat at all
Yeah.
over the weekend.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe Sheldon strikes lightning with all of these 3 guys. Maybe they find a way to put 6 points on the board tonight between all 3 of them. They have that capability.
Of course.
But it kind of feels like he's going big or going home tonight with this line.
I feel like with Tavares specifically, that watching him over his career, there are these stretches where he's gone for a little bit, where you don't notice him as much, but it just feels as the years have gone on, they just get a little deeper and a little longer every year.
The stretches.
The stretches.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he'll get his points, but it's just like once, every year it gets a little bit longer, the stretch of lack of production.
Kip earlier this year was going, Tavares will get his point per game. Tavares will get, and it's like,
what's he at now?
Kip, I don't know, pal.
He's now dropped under 70 points. I think he's on pace for high 60s, which I think would put him back probably, I don't know, 5, 7, 8 years, 10 years since he's had a 60-point season. Maybe you got to go back to the beginning of the Islander days.
2016, 2017, he had 66 points in 77 games.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's on pace for 24 goals and 68 points.
68 points.
In 82
Now
games.
he could score 3 tonight.
Sure.
Right? And bump that right back up to his point a game kind of feel. And hopefully that's the case on this extended Western road trip, is that he finds a way to produce again. The power play needs to get hot.
Yeah, power play's
That's an
been
issue,
stinky.
and he's a big component of that 6 feet radius around the net on the power play. But right now, I mean, you're not going in with a lot of juice.
Nope. But, like you said, the thing that makes the Leafs is that it's there. The ability to have these moments, to create and to show up in these big games because you have the elite talent. Can you fill in all the holes? Just like every team has holes. The Leafs high end is just so high. Can they find it against the Oilers? Can they match that? Power play could use a little work. The one thing that also stood out to me while doing my data mining that I usually do, and I've said this to you guys before, is just how much this team is the team that people thought the old Leafs were, that they just aren't very good defensively and they score like hell. They're 3rd best team in expected goals and like 25th in expected goals against. They're a pretty one-dimensional team right now, and that's scary against the Oilers.
And you look at those stats and it's like, we've been talking about making additions. Is 1 or 2 guys going to change the whole outlook of the team? That's the question. I don't know, or who are you bumping out, right? So it's like Tanev comes in, for example.
Yeah.
Like, are you immediately 15th in expected goals against? Like, how much does that change things?
It's a great question.
I don't know.
Wow, how I felt for this team for the last couple of years. They're not 1 defenseman away.
Yeah.
They're 2 defensemen away.
The question of does 1 or 2 or 1 guy make a difference? I just don't think any team is good enough in the NHL right now for the Leafs to say, this isn't our year, we're not going for it. I still think they have to do these things. I still think they're one of the teams that have a chance. So I'd like to see them. If it is 2, I'd like to see it happen. I can tell you that.
In about 10 minutes, we're going to welcome in Brad May, former NHLer, Stanley Cup champion, friend of the show.
First time this year.
Where's he been?
I don't know. I feel bad. We haven't had on yet. We're going to have him on. So it's been a while.
Fight his mother to be on this show.
2 of our favorite clips. It's not good.
Well, it's not good.
No.
I'd fight my mom to win another Stanley Cup.
Those 2 lines could really just be our whole show. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, it's not good.
They get played plenty, which is good.
So we're excited to have Mayday on coming up in about 10 minutes, like I said. I think it's official now. I haven't got a clue what Sheldon does with his goalies.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not doing it anymore.
What do you mean?
He's going back to Martin Jones.
Yeah.
I said yesterday that based on the pump up he gave Samsonov coming off the Detroit win, that take it. Go put him in against Edmonton tonight. And
we told you were huffing paint.
A little too nervous, I think, to maybe go all in on Samsonov against the hottest team in hockey right now.
Imagine here,
but
handing Samsonov to Connor McDavid right now.
Bigger picture, I think I kind of get it now that you're on an extended road trip. If in fact that you put Samsonov in tonight and he gets shelled, then you're basically screwed the rest of the way in this. Samsonov will play against Calgary.
Calgary, yeah.
Right? That's the start that he'll get.
He'll play Calgary and Seattle.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because they got the back-to-back
on
the weekend.
Let's see what happens in Calgary before you give them Seattle.
Well, they're going on the trip. They're not going to fly Hildeby.
I don't know. Maybe.
They're not going to fly him across the country to play in a game against. No, it's going to be Samsonov, regardless of what happens.
Maybe it's Joe Wool. Joe Wool's on the trip. You know that?
No, it's not Joe Wool.
Joe Wool is on the trip. Let's hear from Sheldon Keefe on his schedule.
That just means he's one step further. He's not going to be playing on this trip. I don't even expect to see him in practices on this trip. So he's just here just to continue to work with Curtis and be around the guys.
There you go.
Injury Island is lonely. You know, good to be around the guys a little bit.
Pretty chill.
I think he's still on schedule to be in that February after the All-Star game, All-Star weekend. I think he'd be. Could they rush him depending on results on this trip?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I think beginning of February pretty much has him around that 8-week mark, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Which right on schedule.
And this was in my mind that I had something about Edmonton Oilers and Martin Jones. Mm-hmm. It's not gone well for Martin against the Oilers.
Well, he's been in Seattle, so they've played a lot.
21 games. He's got a winning record somehow, but 882 save percentage, 301 goals against. Going against some good players a lot, but it has not fared well for him against this team.
At least he knows what to expect.
He knows what to expect. He's played them 21 times. He knows what's coming, but man, it's a big ask for him.
The fastball's coming.
It's a big ask for him. Like I continue to be really happy for what they've given him, but at some point, and then we could be at the point, this is going to start to go the other way. Like it happened on. Like you guys are looking at me like a mean here.
I
right?
don't. I know what you're saying about Martin Jones. He didn't get a job in the league this year.
Watch that Avalanche game on Saturday. It's like you need Wall to get back here. You can't keep stretching this out. It's gonna get worse. That's all I'm saying.
The Oilers. How quickly, from our earlier Oilers conversations, do you think of them as among the best few teams in the West? Like Vancouver, Winnipeg, Colorado, Edmonton.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're in that group of teams solidly now for me. 10-0-0.
Yeah, it's crazy how far. Yeah. We had some dumb conversations about them in retrospect.
To kind of take us off the Toronto Maple Leaf train here, but in our conversation, but like everybody has flaws.
Absolutely.
Everybody. And we went from writing off the Edmonton Oilers to now going Stanley Cup champions. Yeah. Now, is the truth on the Edmonton Oilers maybe just somewhere in between?
Very likely. Yeah. I mean, the depth scoring for the Oilers is much like the Leafs. There's none of it.
They need a top winger to play with Draisaitl.
What's going on with that? So Hyman and Kane?
I don't know. Draisaitl and Kane probably not have the best chemistry, I guess, over the course of the year.
Shooters. I mean, Leon's the best passer on earth, probably, but they just don't work, eh?
That just hasn't kind of clicked.
I mean, I could give you a pretty good explanation of why this has turned around. Stuart Skinner's last games. I'm going back to December 30th. I'll go back to December 28th when he got a shutout against the Sharks. Save percentage of 1,000. 929, 946, 967, 962, 958.
Yeah.
That's
Get saved.
Yeah.
it's a pretty good explanation.
Jay Woodcroft's going, oh, come on.
Yeah. Like,
No matter what he does between now and the end of the regular season, you're still going to question him, and you're going to question the goaltending, especially if it's Pickard backing him up.
You go into a series and it's Skinner and Pickard. It's
they need a backup goalie, and depending where you are on putting all your eggs in the Joseph Wall basket, even if he comes back and plays well, the Leafs aren't out of at least having a conversation on, do we need somebody else, or is it Joseph Wall and Martin Jones?
Joe and Jones, baby,
going
let's
into
go.
the playoffs.
Yes. We should not, and I hope Leaf Nation hasn't gone, yeah, Joe Woll's the guy. He's 100% our starting goalie, going into the playoffs.
He's got weak ankles. Okay? It's this last issue that he's had isn't the first time.
It's just a funny thing to hear about someone. I've never,
and
NHL hockey player, weak ankles.
There's an issue going on there.
He has,
and what's
ankleitis.
Worse is the way he left. It wasn't someone landing on it, crashing into it, watching us see him twist it. It was just something that jammed on him.
It was a flutter puck from the half boards that he adjusted.
It was so weird.
He was also in the midst of one of the finest goaltending performances
I can remember.
Yeah.
Against Ottawa, right?
Massive glove save.
Yeah.
You can watch him on the injury 1,000 times on video, and it will never equate to
8 weeks off
for 2 months injury. You're like, okay, where?
Yeah.
Where?
For the Toronto Maple Leafs, going back to 21-22, he's played 22 games for them. And everyone's like, he's the guy. He'll get healthy and he's the guy. And it's like, he probably is the guy. I really like him. But gosh.
Again,
we've been yelling from the rooftops for how many shows to get a goalie.
Watching that injury again, are you likely to believe that this guy can play every other night for 2 months and win you a Stanley Cup?
Help
you win a Stanley Cup?
Also gives me some pause about this is when asked about this summer and his training, did you try to bulk up? You're 23, did you try to get bigger? What'd you work on?
Yeah.
You know what he worked on? His ankles. He had an ankle issue in the past, and he actively tried to strengthen his ankles to avoid an issue this summer.
Okay, so my weak ankles comment isn't far-fetched.
I didn't mean to laugh at the idea that you were suggesting it. It's just a strange thing to hear. Have you ever heard or said that about a player before?
There's a lot of weak ankles.
He needs an ankleectomy? That hasn't come up.
A lot of weak ankles in ACHL, but I'll tell you that much.
Go to watch Beer League. You can be sponsored by Renfrew. Get some tape for these boys. But it's not quite the NHL's thing.
So, the point of all of this is everybody's got some question marks that you could pick apart to suggest they're not quite ready for winning a cup. But now you're starting to equate winning cups to...
On this show, we've said they needed a goalie, a D-man, and a left winger.
I've been saying they needed a goalie for... Oh, my voice cracks. I'm getting emotional. We've been saying they needed a goalie for 3 seasons of this show. We should break. Get to Mayday.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to also have later on the show, we'll have a conversation on Elvis Merzlikins.
Brought that monster out of him.
Is he an answer in Toronto or Edmonton? But we'll save that for the National Hour. Okay, let's take a quick break. When we come back, Brad May will tell us how critical this Western road trip is for the Toronto Maple Leafs. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back to the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Soon to be joining us, Brad Mayday. Mayday. Dirk Brandeo, does he have the Mayday call? Can he find that for us? While we get Brad May set up for the phone call. Gonna ask Brad May about the Leafs right now, and did we see have they? Where is their identity when it's all said and done here in terms of halfway point now? they searching for one? Can they grab one on this road trip? Let's start with you, JB.
Well, I'm going to give you some quick stats. Goals for per game, they're 5th. Goals against per game, they're 21st. Their power play is 6th. Their penalty kill is 23rd. Their shots for per game is 6th. Their shots against is 21st. Their identity, to me, is they're a one-way team, right? They want to go that way. And so that, to me, is the challenge from games 42 to 82 is, can you become a 200-foot team? Right now, they're not, to me. I don't think if you ask them, what's your identity, they'd say what I just said. But from a viewer's perspective, that is their identity. And I imagine they would say that they're an offensively dynamic team who can play both ends of the rink, but they currently don't.
The lack of identity is an identity to me.
Yeah.
Just how they just don't really have a defining thing outside of the core four.
And that is the defining thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's welcome him in. Let's welcome him in.
Oh, no, we have the clip ready. We don't have actual.
Oh, okay.
Ready.
I thought Brad was
We're
ready.
trying to track down Brad here.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh,
Track
no.
him down. Okay. Don't
Let's
do
have
that.
the clip. Let's have the clip.
Gets it to May and over the line. He's May going in on goal. He shoots. He
God, I love that.
What are you looking? What's the thing when you send it out looking
Rick?
for somebody? No, the
Oh, SOS?
yeah, maybe send it out SOS trying to find him here.
You know, I think if that call, I don't know, like in the great annals of great American sports calls, like that's got to be one of them. It doesn't get enough respect nationally.
Oh, gosh. I think
huge
it's
here.
played out
Huge in Buffalo.
amazingly well,
Yeah.
I think. And it was a first round.
Was it? Yeah.
It was, I think they beat Boston in the first round off of Mayday's goal. So
Yeah.
imagine if it was like a conference final or a Stanley Cup final.
That might be one where you just let the crowd do the talking. Those are good calls too, eh? Where there's a big moment, you just sort of let the ambiance of
I mean the
building.
anti-Tony Romo?
Well, I don't know, Jim.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Jim, I don't know, Jim.
And as Derek just pointed out, I mean, he undressed Ray Bork.
Was it Ray Bork?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I-
the one-handed kind of threw Ray Bork, and then he kind of hopped around him, and then the fake slap shot, I think.
we might not have Brad. I can't get in touch with Brad.
All
All
right.
right.
Well, listen,
Well,
we'll
for
just
Bradless,
keep
we
her
have
going.
lots
If
of
he-
more Leafs content.
If he joins us, he joins us. But
You want to talk about a former Leaf that went on to Edmonton who's having some success? In Zach Hyman?
we can critique a lot of things for the Toronto Maple
And
Leafs
we do.
over the last 6 years. Letting Zach Hyman go
Everything's great.
For the number Bertuzzi earns.
does like, there's nothing else that can top that. Kadri trade, the decision to give up draft picks for Foligno, the decision to give draft picks up for Ryan O'Reilly, but letting this guy go because you would not go $5 million for him
What happened?
is
I can't need the context of what happened in that summer because I can't remember.
disaster.
I don't remember all the context, but the current context I can give you is that his goal total, the highest goal total with the Leafs is 21. He currently is on pace for 55. He had 36 2 years ago for the Oilers. He's on pace for 55 goals, 26 goals in 38 games. And I should say the 21 with the Leafs was in 51 games, so he was on a pretty nice clip too. But yeah, he is a massive goal-scoring threat in the National Hockey League on a team, where he's crucial for them.
But to
it's a
the
huge
Leafs'
loss.
defense, like, there's just no way you could see this coming. There's just no way based on where he had come out of college from, and his rights were first with the Florida Panthers. It was a nothing trade by Kyle Dubas to get his rights to come to Toronto. He works his ass off. He grinds. Babcock sees something. There's people going, okay, why is he playing with Matthews? Why is he playing with Marner?
Yep.
And he fought through that.
Yeah.
And then it was to the point where some of the Sammys in the world would gladly drive him to the airport because he's not worth $5 million.
Never say that to me.
So
I wish I had. I never said. I looked this up to be right about something because I'm rarely right.
All right, my apologies.
But I looked it up on Twitter. I never sent any tweets. But when I was very early in doing my shows on the radio, I was like, "Why don't you just pay him?
Yeah,
just pay him." And here's what they did in that summer. Did you look it up?
No.
They signed Peter Mrazek, Nick Ritchie, Andre Kasha, Kampf. Yep.
Rich was great.
And Michael Bunting. That track?
Yeah, that checks. Totally tracks.
So
they just
probably could have allocated a little of that
to
us.
to spread Hyman's money out amongst a lot of people. But you talk about they couldn't have seen where this was going. In 2019-20, he's on pace for 32 goals, and the next season he's on pace for 30 goals. Like he didn't leave here a 10 goal scorer and become a 30 goal guy. So I think you bet against the idea that he would be able to continue to do it away from your superstars. They basically said, we think he's as good as he is because of Hyman and Marner, because of Matthews and Marner. Yeah. Turns out he's just a great hockey player.
Yeah. And
how old is he now? 30.
He's 31, but he's a freak of nature. He's one of those guys who's all green juice. And
nobody goes from like being a 25 goal scorer to a 50 goal scorer at age 30. It is remarkable what he's done in such a short period of time with the Edmonton Oilers.
He had 22 goals in 37 NCAA games. Like he scored at the college level. And I was with the Marlies when Hyman was there, and I saw the work this guy put in. Like he is the guy doing all the weird exercises and the correct diet and watching his game tape. Other people would come watch their game tape when they would score. They'd be, can I get my shifts? Could I watch my shifts back from last game? Hyman could play terrible, and he would still watch him. Like he put in the work to be the player he is.
He writes children's books. That alone should have kept him here.
I know.
And maybe maybe there's a world he didn't want to be here.
No. There was a big world where he wanted to stay. He just was not going to get paid.
Would they have given him comparable? No.
I don't think they ever got close to. Is it 5 or 5.5?
It's 5.5.
5.5.
Yeah.
Like that was a lot of money back then. Right now it's like
he's already in year 3, giving him a 50-goal season. Like there's 4 years left in the deal. It's not like it's
it's already one of the best contracts in the league.
They've done very well by it for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look through at the rest of that lineup, their fourth line is Adam Ernie, James Hamblin, Connor Brown struggling to put it in the net, Derek Ryan McLeod, Mattias Janmark. Like they could use some depth help too. So obviously Hyman is crucial for them. Curious to see Kane's ice time has kind of scaled back since Knoblauch has been the guy. I think Knoblauch recently had a quote about trying to find more opportunity for him.
Yeah. Someone suggested to me there's a little friction there for sure.
With Kane.
Well, he wants his ice time.
I'm sure he does.
Right? And now I think we've got Fogle and McLeod with Draisaitl.
Yeah.
And like I'm a big Fogle fan. I liked him in Carolina. And there are some times since he's been an Edmonton Oiler where it's been challenging for him a little bit, but now I think he's settled right in.
He's a big, fast guy. So Kane's ice time in the first.
I was just looking at this. Yeah.
Yeah. In October, he plays 18 and a half minutes. Plays a couple more seconds per game in December, 18 and a half minutes. But towards the end of December, I don't remember when Knoblauch came on.
I think late November, I want to say.
Yeah. So he still played quite a bit in December after that. 16:30 in the month of January so far. Or sorry, that was in December. He was 16:30. This month, he's 15:22. So it's really, really scaled back. I had the months wrong there. So 18:24 in October, 18:26 in November, 16:30 December, 15:22 in January.
Yeah. And
one assist in the month of January so far on a team that's winning games.
Quite a contrast tonight from maybe the ability to control your team or have a feel of the temperature of your team between Knoblauch and Sheldon Keefe. One can get a little hot under the collar in Knobloch, I'm not sure if his pulse ever gets higher than 50.
Yeah, we witnessed it on our show.
He was very thoughtful, said all the right things.
We witnessed it firsthand.
We do have Sheldon Keefe talking about Zach Hyman, just to stay on that theme before we change channels
good
here.
call.
Let's listen to that.
Yeah.
I mean, Hyman's is, he's always had good touch around the net. He knows how to get to the right spots, and he's playing with the right guy to get the puck right where he needs it. So, in that sense, I'm not surprised. But then he's a relentless player. So when he gets confident and all of that, he's going to be dangerous.
See, he should have just started the clip going, I miss him so much.
God, he did love him too.
I mean, who did Dubas?
Mhm.
That's the craziest part, is that Dubas loved him.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
brought him in.
Yeah.
He was it McKeag?
Greg McKegg.
They traded Greg McKeag for him.
Yeah.
And he loved him, and he developed him, and he came up and developed him into what, I mean, that's what sucks with the cap. Not to go down this road again, but you spend all this time developing these guys, and they get to the peak of their powers, and you got to let them go. And that's what they, never mind. I'll leave Willie out of this.
Yeah. I'm not suggesting that a guy like Matthews is the reason why he left. But typically, when your star players really want to keep a guy, it sways the management's decision. And I'm just not sure back then how much a guy like Matthews would have thought the upside would have been to keep Hyman.
Oh, so you think maybe
I just don't know if there was ever that true,
like kick down the door, like Sid did this summer for Gino and all those guys.
Like, I'm not sure how much Matthews loved playing with him back then, or if he felt like he needed someone with
Who can make a pass?
better touch, smoother, higher end point producer. And I think the whole feeling in general from even some of the star players to management was that Hyman has a cap, right? And and we're not paying 5.5 for 60 points. I don't know back then where was
55 goals.
Yeah, now it's like 55 goals, but he has developed his game. He's so smart. He's so intelligent that he's figured it out between the body and the mind how to go to another level.
So where do you stand on players having any input onto personnel? Because I don't think there's any credence to what you're saying, but do you think they went to a 23 or 4-year-old and said, do we want this guy on our team? Should we keep him? And if so, should that happen? Should these players have input? Because why are you asking a kid to be the GM if that's the case?
Ask LeBron James.
Well, LeBron's 40.
Listen,
but he's been doing it his whole career.
You're
fair enough.
nuts.
And you know what? Ask people if LeBron's a good GM.
He's the worst GM in the league.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I love you, but I think you're nuts if you don't think this is going on all the time.
Yeah.
And yes, they go to 22 and 23-year-olds.
Yeah.
Because they are the team now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just stop with it doesn't stop with line mates. It doesn't stop with roster.
Should it?
Listen, you have no choice. Yes, it should.
Yeah.
You know why? Because these guys have the power.
Mm-hmm.
Like Matthews has the power to go, oh, you want to keep Babcock? Well, maybe I'll look for another place to play.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I won't sign.
For sure.
Maybe I'll move on. And they're like, oh, let's get rid of Babcock.
Yeah.
Which, in retrospect, maybe was the right move.
Babcock had to go to Phoenix.
I know.
Okay, had to get on a plane and go suck up to Matthews.
I know.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that well.
You know
What a
what's
summer that was.
craziest?
Okay, you want to talk about power?
Yeah.
That's power.
You know what's crazy too about all the Babcock stuff where people talked about his coaching or whatever? He was right about pretty much everything. I know he's not a great guy and we're all mad at him or whatever, but if you look back at all the things he said the Leafs needed to do to be successful, pretty much every single box has been checked.
Okay, and then so you went the other way with Sheldon, who's pretty much given these guys everything they want.
Yeah, I think when he came in, Dubas still really wanted them to be progressive, right? They wanted to play different than other teams. They wanted to hang on to the puck. Remember the curlbacks? It was tough to watch for a while. And eventually they've said, this doesn't work, And eventually it's like, we need to play fast, go forward, north, south.
Okay.
And it's like, where did that hear that before?
There's not the regroup. He got rid of the regroup, but there's a lot of that stuff that's still in there. Like I'm watching again, how many times that the Leafs have two defensemen behind the net. And I'm like, there's no world in mine.
Their own net or the opposing net?
No, their own net.
Yeah.
There's two. Liljegren and McCabe are caught behind the net. Tavares on the weekend, I saw him like cop by himself in front of the net. Rantanen, his goal Saturday night, alone in front of the net. I'm like, how does that keep happening? How does one guy understand that if the defenseman is behind the net battling, I better be in front of the net because nobody's there. That happened to Cop on the game-winning goal. Two defensemen caught behind the net. How does that keep happening?
I highly doubt it's coached, right? That they're like, hey, we want to send two guys. Maybe they're just not listening to the coach, which would be coaching.
Okay, that's a problem then.
Exactly.
That's a problem.
It is. And so you and I had a brief conversation earlier. I don't think that Sheldon Keefe is a bad coach or has done a bad job. I think he's been a good coach who's done a good job or whatever. I do think that it would be interesting to see if people would respond differently to someone else because I think their systems are very comparable to other teams. I don't think they're doing anything out of the ordinary, but a lot of it is just getting guys to adhere to the system, which at times it feels like they're not.
Okay, so we had a Bruce Boudreau, Vancouver Canucks, and we have a Rick Tocchet.
I would say those are two very extremes.
Pretty much same group of guys. What's the difference?
Well,
why? They didn't listen to Bruce and they're listening to talk?
Certainly that's part of it.
Yeah.
But
Quinn Hughes isn't playing center. From February 1st through the 3rd, All-Stars are in Toronto for an NHL All-Star Weekend, and we'll be giving away tickets to the different events in episodes today until January 26th. Today we have tickets to the NHL All-Star Thursday Draft, which includes the PWHL 3-on-3 Showcase, the NHL All-Star Player Draft, plus a tribute to the 1967 Leafs. For a chance to win, text in today's code word, which is DRAFT, to 59590, and we'll have another code word in tomorrow's episode, so be sure to tune in. Draft is that code word.
Draft.
Hey,
the person who picked 1967 Leafs,
they never showed their stuff.
Apparently, Leaf Suck was too long a password for today.
Were they relieved of their duties?
Yes.
Who picked 67 yesterday?
Before we go, I got a lot of texts about Justin Hall we did the return, and he got the tribute video.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a couple of texts being like, Justin Hall gets the tribute video, but Dubas doesn't. I'm like, that is...
Says something.
I didn't see the tribute.
Neither did I.
The tribute was like, welcome back, Justin Hall. And they showed him.
I just hope it didn't include some bad pinches.
What was the highlight package?
Maybe they could include last year's penalty kill numbers versus this.
You know what? Not a bad point.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to play it?
No.
Man! The Dubas tribute video sound.
All right, listen, we're gonna get an answer from Brad May. If we can find him today, we're gonna find him tomorrow. We're gonna track him down for you. In the meantime, we continue on the Real Kyper and Bourne show as we go national. Rob Brown, former National Hockey Leaguer, 50-goal scorer, and now an analyst for the Edmonton Oilers, will join us next. Stick around. Let's welcome everybody in to our national hour on the Real Kyper and Bourne show. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour, Real Kyper and Bourne, brought to you by Bet365. How many games we have on tap tonight?
8.
8?
Yes.
8,
yep.
Including a few Canadian matchups. Colorado at Ottawa.
Ooh.
Arizona at Calgary. But we'll focus a little bit on the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Edmonton Oilers out of the gate.
You mentioned something to me in our last break about Elias Pettersson. What was that you were saying?
Just that the GM there, Patrick Alvin, had mentioned that he finds it a little unusual that they aren't negotiating and don't want to talk till postseason. That makes you a little nervous for old Vancouver and Pettersson. You think he's an RFA, so they control his rights, but
I don't know if he needs more time to. The big thing was, can I win here?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, 41 games, enough to see where this program's heading.
Winning more than any other team in the league seems good.
Yep. All right, we'll talk about that. Your Islanders are at Winnipeg as well. So
struggles.
A lot of games tonight, but we'll focus on the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Edmonton Oilers. Okay, let's bring in Rob Brown, former NHL forward. Currently works as an analyst with Ched. Brownie, how are you, pal?
I'm doing well, Kyper. It's been a long, long time.
Yeah, it has, buddy. And I told these guys we're kind of cut from the same era. If I recall, the first time I got to watch you was in Calgary when the Max tournament. Am I correct in saying that? Or did you lose in the final?
No, because I didn't play midge. I went right from Bantam, I guess it's 215 now, went from there right to Kamloops. First time I met you, though, was at a Memorial Cup. I think it was in Oshawa, and we were both up for awards. So we met each other there. I think it was a plus-minus award for you. And then we also played together. We played golf at an NHLPA meetings in Whistler. We came in second place, our team. The first team won trips anywhere in the world. Second place won. Yep, second place won a Roots gym bag.
Awesome.
Second place.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I had you in that Max tournament, but that was that was such a long time ago. But thanks for joining us. And again, here I am, 57 years old, and I'm learning something new every day. And not to rehash this whole thing, but I just found out today through JB that this thing called Down Goes Brown is based on I don't know, a fight that you had at Maple Leaf Gardens. I'm not asking you to go through the whole thing.
Oh no, I remember it well. It was a Saturday night, Maple Leaf and Gardens, hockey night in Canada. There was a big kerfuffle in front of the bench, and everyone was kind of grabbing people. And Pat Burns was the coach of the Leafs, and he kept screaming, "Grab Brown, grab Brown!" And Savannah Fave called me out, and he skated kind of to center, and I'm like, okay, seriously, there's nobody out here my size. So I fought him, and it was going well, it seemed like. I mean, he got 18 to 20 lucky shots in, knocked me out. And then I had to go in the dressing room afterwards, and while I'm in the dressing room, I'm watching the little TV they used to have at Maple Leaf Gardens, and I'm watching the fight over. Michel Goulet wasn't dressed that night. And I go, Gugu, it looks like he got me on the chin. He goes, well, that's where the blood's coming from, so probably yes.
And now you're what?
So Down Goes Brown was a favorite catchphrase for a long time. All my buddies love that one.
Like you're 5'11" against Lefebvre, who's like 6'3" and weighs 50, 60 more pounds than you. Was this your mouth writing checks that your body can't cash?
Yeah, it finally caught up to me. There's many times that I was able to escape those, but this one caught up to me, and I paid a price. So I laid out on the ice for a little bit. My father said I was down for half an hour. I think it was just a few seconds.
They always exaggerate, those dads.
Well, Brownie, I haven't seen you since the Hockey Greats fantasy camp in Kelowna, BC many years ago. So happy to see your face again. Thanks for joining us today. And I feel bad that we led with that story. So I want to ask about scoring 49 goals and 115 points in the NHL and how a season like that comes to be. Does everything just fall in place for you? We've been talking about Zach Hyman's year. It feels like one of those for you.
Well, it did. Everything did fall into place, except the one problem that year is I tried being physical, and I threw a body check and hit Joe Nieuwendyk, and he didn't move, but my shoulder did. So I separated his shoulder. I missed about 12 games that year. So
you only played 68 that year.
Yeah, I needed 2 goals in the last game of the season. I scored a goal in the second period. I needed 1. I hit a post in the third. Then the game went into overtime. And it was the last game of the year, meant nothing to Pittsburgh, who I was playing for. But the Philadelphia Flyers, if they won, they could move up. So the Flyers pulled their goalie in overtime, in the offensive zone, and I was on the ice, and I'm thinking, well, I'm going to score 50. Mario's going to go through the whole team, give me an open net. And the coach, Gino Briacco, called me off the ice. He put a different centerman on the ice. And even Mario said to the bench, he's got 49. Coach says, nope, team game. So I sat on the bench and watched Mario go through the whole team and then score into an empty net. So that close.
You're a 50-goal scorer in my books, man. I got you as 50. I introduced you as a 50-goal scorer. Yeah. I'm sorry. But can you imagine now a year like that going into a contract situation in 2024 right now?
Might have made you a few bucks.
Well, and it was my contract year, so I wouldn't have to be doing podcasts and working for a radio station. I would have, my wife and I would be on vacation now. Yeah, no, it would have been a little bit different. Well, when I signed my big contract, out of that year, I signed for $350,000 a year. That was the contract I got after scoring 49 goals.
Well, we appreciate your time today to talk a little bit about the Oilers and. Before we maybe go into some details on the game tonight against the Leafs, just your overall assessment of what's transpired since the start, that horrific start to where they are today. Is it strictly a coaching change in your eyes? How do you assess this from the poorhouse to the penthouse?
I think that the Oilers themselves put too much pressure on themselves. It was cup or bust, and they talked about coming in early for captain skates, and this is the year for us, and everyone was excited. And then the first game they got stomped on 8-1 by the Vancouver Canucks, and I think it was just a kick to the stomach they weren't expecting. I think it took them a lot longer to recover from. I think that they started reading their own headlines and feeling that they were that good. They were going to be able to run through the regular season. They finished 18-2 last year in regular season. And I think it cost the coaches 2 jobs. It cost Jack Campbell his job. But I think after that, the players, didn't matter if it was the same coach or a new coach. I think the players at that point realized how we were successful last year. And they've got back to playing that. Right now, they're playing as good as any team in the NHL. It'll be a tough test for the Toronto Maple Leafs today.
So one of the things that has changed too is they start getting some saves from Stu Skinner. Is that just like a mindset, a confidence thing? It starts to go right and you start to feel better about it. Like it's not like he could have made some major tactical change or anything, right?
I think the Oilers team was so bad in front of Skinner that every chance that the opposition was getting was a grade A scoring chance. It was breakaway, 2-on-1, backdoor empty net, and all of a sudden the confidence starts to lag. The Oilers started playing better hockey. They stopped giving up the grade A chances. Players like Bouchard and Nurse simplified their games. And now you're seeing them excel because they're playing a simple game, yet the offense is still there. So Skinner has gained confidence. The team is very confident in front of them. The Oilers play with swagger now, and you'll see that in tonight's game. This is a team with swagger, and their goaltending, Stuart Skinner, this is as good as I've seen him play. They don't give up a lot of odd man breaks, and anytime they've needed a big save over the last 20-some games, Stuart Skinner's given it to them.
Brownie, is this Paul Coffey letting these guys know that it's okay to make a mistake? Just limit your gambles or your chances that you're taking here, because it has been night and day for both Bouchard and Darnell Nurse.
Yeah, I think they got a defensive coach that plays like they play, that is an offensive guy who understood when to jump in and when not to. And I think when a Hall of Famer talks, it's very easy for those players to listen. And you're right. It's the Nurse that you're seeing now is the best Nurse has played in all the year. I've been here this is my 18th season. So I've been here for all of Nurse's seasons. Bouchard has just simplified his game. So it was funny when they made the coaching change, no one was really upset or questioned Knobloch coming in. But there was a lot of chatter about Paul Coffey going behind the bench here in Edmonton. Yeah. A lot of questions. And every player interview they've talked glowingly about the relationship they have with Paul Coffey.
Yeah, it obviously is. He's been a big part in that turnaround. I mentioned Skinner starting to play better. I want to ask you about Connor McDavid's season. I think he had 150 points last year or something. Right now, he's 15 points behind the NHL's point leader, which is unusual for a guy that, we all kind of universally agree is the best player on the planet. It was just a slow start? Is that why his numbers are kind of behind where we would expect for him?
He was just as bad as the rest of the players. They were all bad. I mean, it was there wasn't
ugly.
one player that could say, I'm doing my job, the rest of you get better. Everybody was bad.
Yeah.
I think at one point we had Connor at 196 in the National Hockey League in scoring.
Yeah.
Like, that's how far behind he was. He battled some injuries. They never really said what it was, but he didn't have the explosiveness. And when you looked at the body expressions and the facial expressions of these players during the stretch at the beginning of the year, they all lacked confidence. They were all at a loss as why it had gone sideways. You will see that tonight their body language is much better now. And Connor McDavid is playing as good as he's played. I think he's got, I don't know, he's averaging 2 points a game over the last 20-some games, and that's only because they've run into some hot goaltending. It could be a lot worse. They do not, when they're in the offensive zone, they stay in the offensive zone until the goalie makes the saves and freezes it, or until they score. The opposition cannot get the puck out. That line has been incredible. And Zach Hyman has benefited playing with Connor McDavid. There's no doubt about that. But Connor McDavid has benefited from playing with Zach Hyman. He's finishing. He's keeping plays alive. They are a fun line to watch. So Connor McDavid is now playing like Connor McDavid was supposed to play all season long.
Our producer, Sammy, who's loved Zach Hyman as a Leaf, is now in the fetal position in the corner of the studio.
That hurt to hear.
Really, really hurt. As well as they're going, Brownie, there's no one that believes that this is going to be pretty much the team that takes a run at the Stanley Cup here. So what is it they need? Do they need a top six winger? Do they need more help on the bottom, another D? We certainly hope they're looking for a backup goalie.
Yeah, I think all of the above. I think Calvin Pickard has played well. He has given them solid starts when he's in there. I think he's 5-2 on the season. That's pretty good for a third-string goaltender that wasn't supposed to be here. I'm not sure that they are fully confident if Skinner goes down that Pickard can win them a Stanley Cup. So I think they will look for someone to help Skinner. On the back end, the Oilers have been incredibly lucky the last 2 years with health. Right now, Broberg is their guy in the minors, but after that, there's really no depth. So they need some depth defensemen that are going to come in, because we all know that in the playoffs, you go through defensemen, and the Oilers right now have been very fortunate. So eventually the injury bug is going to hit. So they're going to need some depth defensemen. And I think they would love some. Right now, they got Warren Fogle playing in the top six. And I love Warren Fogle. But if he can play in your third line, you are a much better hockey club. Mm-hmm. So I think they would love to find someone to fill a spot on the line with Leon Draisaitl. And they need to get Evander Kane going. He has not played very well for the last 15 to 18 games. He is a playoff-type performer. So they need to get him going in the right direction. But this is not a finished product, but it's a product right now that has Connor, Leon, Nugent-Hopkins, Hyman, Kane, Nurse, Bouchard, Ekholm. It is a pretty good group that I think they just need to put some, fluff around the outside to pretty them up for the playoffs.
Well, what are your thoughts? I want to ask you about Kane there, because, he's played, I think the first 2 months of the year, he averaged 18.5 minutes. Then it was like 16.5 in December. He's at 15-20 in the month of January. This guy's making a good amount of money. He scored 30 goals in the league numerous times. What's gone on here with Kane kind of seeing a diminished role as the team is having success?
Well, one problem, and this is a problem for players, offensive players that come to Edmonton, there's only one power play unit.
Right.
They don't have a second unit. And it used to be last year under Woodcroft that Hyman and Kane would flip-flop, depending on who was out there. And then after a minute, those two would change. Under Knobloch, they don't do that. Hyman plays the entire time. So now Kane's getting no minutes as a power play guy, really, unless there's 30 seconds left cleanup time. He doesn't kill penalties. Under Woodcroft, he killed penalties. He doesn't do that anymore either. So there's two things that are taking away ice time. And then he struggled. He wasn't playing very well. So when he wasn't playing very well, sorry, my cat just knocked me. So when he wasn't playing very well, he lost ice time that way too. So He's been moved to the third line. Now he'll play second line tonight. And on the second line, he'll get more ice time with Leon. But they do need to get him going. The problem with Evander is his interest in the games seem to have been based on his ice time and who he's played with. So when he's played with Leon, the excitement level's there, the physicality's there, and there is swagger. When he's played on the third line, that's when there's been comments after games about, I did pretty good considering how much ice time I had. There was a game in New York where he scored a goal. There wasn't a celebration. So they need him engaged as a player because he was built and brought in for playoff hockey. So they need him playing better so that when they get into the playoffs, they know they got the Evander Kane that they need, and that's being a bull on the ice. I expect him to have a big game tonight because he's playing with Leon.
One guy that has fit in nicely from the moment he got traded was Ekholm, and I'm listening to an interview I think the other night where he's like, first thing out of his mouth is, "I don't like our game," and it's like, man, that's a leader. That is a guy that's taking charge and not afraid to say. I think his plus minus since he's been there is something like ridiculous, like 45 or not quite my plus minus, Brownie, that won me the award, but really, really good. And man, he's been so good for them.
Well, when they brought Hyman in because Hyman does all the little things proper way every game. There's no drop off in his game. And Ekholm's the same type of person, same type of player. He does all the little things right. He doesn't cut corners. He doesn't cheat. You don't see him giving up an odd man break against because he knows the proper way to play the game. And what I've loved about him, he's been a leader since he got here. Right when he first got traded here, my family can't wait to get here. We're going to live here in the summer. We can't wait to get to Edmonton. Right there, he endeared himself to the fans. Evan Bouchard was floundering when they made the trade. They put him with Ekholm. Ekholm calmed him down. And now all of a sudden there was an anchor. Bouchard could play his game because he knew he had this safety net of Ekholm behind him. And what I loved about Ekholm, what you just talked about with a game a little while ago, is they won that game. That was a game that they won. And after the game, he came, you know what? That effort was not good enough. We're not going to be good enough if we play good teams. So Ekholm came as advertised. The big reason the Oilers went on their run at the end of last year is they got Ekholm in their top four. He took some of the hard minutes away from Darnell Nurse, and he plays the game the proper way. And when your leaders play the game the proper way, it's really hard for anyone else in your lineup to not do that. So I think that's on the back end with Nurse and Ekholm. That's two solid defensemen on the left side that they're going to have out on the ice for 45 minutes a night.
So this step that Bouchard has taken, I understand a lot of it is with Ekholm. Like, how elite is this guy? He's got 40 points in 39 games, 10 goals. We're halfway through the season. Like, we're talking about a Paul Coffey-esque kind of point getter. I understand Coffey was next level, but, this guy is one of the NHL's best, it looks like, this season.
Offensively, yes.
Okay.
There's still warts in his game defensively, but they're getting better. He plays smarter now. When he's got the puck on his stick, he makes good plays. And you'll see when they play tonight, he's on the ice all the time with the McDavid line. He moves the puck well. His shot is so heavy. And in all honesty, penalty killer, there's a little hesitation when they come out because it's such a heavy shot. But what's amazing about Bouchard is he's got a heavy shot that seems to find its way through all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't get blocked at the blue line. So he's got top-end offensive skill. There's still work to be done defensively, but it is getting better. But the thing with playing for Paul Coffey on the back end, Coffey has told him, play your game, make plays, jump up, do all the little things that way, and that will let the rest of the stuff take care of itself. So Bouchard, again, is playing as good as he's been since he's been here. He's been a plus player. He had about a 14 or 15 point scoring streak earlier this year. The power play it's more dangerous because of him, because he's got the ability to score from the point. Even when the goalie sees it, his shot is that heavy that he can beat goalies one-on-one from a shot from the point.
And the Leafs are what, 24th or 25th with penalty killing?
Oh, yeah. I heard Brownie's talking about
Brownie,
that, how they don't...
Is there a chance this could get ugly for the Leafs? Just tell us now, please.
Well, no, the thing that's a little scary right now for any team that plays against the Oilers, McDavid is playing fantastic right now. Yet they haven't had a lot of puck luck. And he's due for a 5 or 6 point game. Now, I don't know if it's against Toronto or it's going to be against Seattle. He's going to have one.
Yeah.
He's that good, and the things are going to find that back, and then eventually the Oilers are pumped for this game. There was a time that the Oilers were going to games, and I'd be sitting there, okay, who are they going to play against, Connor? Who are they going to play against, Leon? There'd be some games you're like, okay, this one might be a toss-up. Every time the Oilers play now, I believe the Oilers only have to worry about themselves. They're playing that well right now. There's not a team out there that I think, the Oilers aren't going to be able to beat them. So the Oilers are good. Although this is going to be a good test. It'll test their defense with Marner and Matthews and Nylander. I love watching the highlights. I'm a huge Nylander fan. I think that kid is fantastic. Yeah. I think that's a great signing by the Toronto Maple Leafs. But the part that I'm just listening to Toronto media, the part that has been the Achilles heel of the Maple Leafs has been their back end. Well, that's what the Edmonton Oilers take apart. They are incredible on the forecheck. They keep plays alive. The Toronto Maple Leafs back end is going to be tested tonight.
Looking forward to it.
Sammy is having more tears.
Hey, Brownie, this is great stuff. You know you and your cat are welcome on our show anytime, eh?
Thanks, Brownie.
Sounds good, guys. Pleasure.
Former National Hockey Leaguer. 50-goal scorer.
50 goals or 68 games. He scored 49 times. He's playing with Lemieux that year, I think.
As close as you can get.
That's a tough story.
That is tough.
Yeah, that hurts.
How about, so he's talking about Bouchard and his shot. So NHL.com/edge, their data, they have guys, how many times per year that you've got your shot over 90 miles an hour. Third in the league, Philip Hronik, 33 times. Hedman's done it 38 times, 90-plus miles an hour. Bouchard, first in the NHL, 66 times. He's fired a bomb over 90.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is such a sick stat.
It's every game
You watch
twice.
it, and it's like we had, in my day, Al McInnes. Like, that was just sick to watch him shoot
Using
the puck.
a piece of rebar for a
I mean, he's as closest to that in the league right now.
Yeah. No, he does. I mean, he just absolutely cooks it consistently. So,
are we doing hardest shot? Are we doing a hardest shot at the All-Star game? I assume, right?
Yeah, it's in there.
Oh, yeah.
Brown was talking about how when that McDavid line gets going, he's like, the thing that's going to stop them on offense is the goalie's going to make a save and there's a whistle or they score. And that for the Leafs, they have had trouble ending, snuffing out offense. So, yeah, the work is cut out for him. Welcome back, Mark Giordano.
All the stuff he talked about, it's like when there's a football team that everyone, it's like, well, they got a great passing game, and the other team's cornerbacks are no good.
Yeah.
It's like, it just feels like it's a bad matchup tonight for the Leafs.
The Oilers could come in as they are, as a 10-game winning streak, or they could come in with losing 3 in a row, and they'd look exactly the same because it's that Toronto Maple Leaf. It's like, okay, we're playing the Toronto Maple Leafs. If there's no better time now to spread the word or one up on that market, the writers, everybody's paying more attention because of the attention that the Leafs get. Yeah. Like, I've played out west as a Toronto Maple Leaf, right? And there's a ton of support in the stands. You're going to get a lot of Leaf fans, but as far as the opposition on the ice, they dig down deep to beat the Leafs. And right now, despite a 10, it doesn't matter. They want to beat the Leafs tonight.
Yeah.
It's not just any game.
Well, the
Leafs need this one, too.
There you go. I was just going to reference that clip. Derek read my mind, but it was...
What did he say?
I don't know what year it was when the Jets beat the Leafs. Is there anything better than beating the Leafs? Like, sorry, everybody. Like, Leafs matter the most. People care the most about the Leafs. It's true.
They hate us because they ain't us.
What other team in the NHL would have guys going into a locker room and saying, is there anything better than beating the Leafs? Nothing.
Yeah, it's because of volume. Yeah. Idiots like us.
But they have the
volume.
Oh, yeah. Most fans,
it's just,
most popular team. It's just what it is.
Jam it down your throat moment for them.
It is what it is.
Right? Take your, all that media attention. Take your millions of dollars you make more than any other team and just shove it.
Luke asked
no one says,
McDavid,
is there nothing better than beating the Canucks? No one says that. It's the Leafs.
Luke asked McDavid about during the bubble when the Leafs went to played Edmonton 3 games in a row, and they kept McDavid off the score sheet entirely in 3 games, and I think the Oilers scored once in 3 games.
Justin Hull, top pairing. Him and Muzzin shut him down.
Yeah. That ain't happened.
That was a moment for Leaf fans, too.
Well, at the moment, you were like, this team could win the cup. And then they're like, no. Montreal beat us.
Yeah, that was tough.
Poor John Tavares.
Game time?
Game time.
It's game time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So, as is tradition, if you're watching the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Edmonton Oilers tonight and you don't bet on a Zach Hyman goal, you're not doing it right. Zach Hyman to score a goal anytime against the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight is plus 115.
Minus 4,000.
Welcome for the free money. I'm looking at some other games in the NHL tonight. This one to me is interesting, and I'm not sure why it is. I guess Colorado, maybe it's the last game of this trip, but they're only slight favorites against the Ottawa Senators.
I saw the
minus 120
against Ottawa.
They give up 3. They dig a huge hole Saturday night, and then they lose the next game to the Habs.
Second half of back-to-back, I guess. But
so
go ahead.
Yeah, they're limping a little bit, and the news that they lost a top player in Nikushkin to a substance abuse program isn't helping now. So, yeah, I see it.
To me, though, from a gambling perspective, you're not going to get Colorado against a pretty inferior opponent at minus 120. That's pretty good value. So, it's a tough one for them. And the other ones I was looking at here, Toilet Bowl tonight, San Jose Sharks visiting Chicago.
I saw that. Who'd you even bet?
Well, I mean, should the Chicago Blackhawks be minus 150 against any hockey team on earth?
No, they shouldn't. Should we talk about Dickinson's contract?
We can talk about that after the break. But plus 125 for the Sharks tonight. I won betting on the Sharks against the Habs the other night. Give me the Sharks tonight. Plus 125. Hold my nose. No Chicago Blackhawks team should be favored by that.
Nope.
And the last thing, just looking at the Leafs and Oilers just as a game. Oilers are huge favorites, as they probably should be. Plus 140 for the Leafs. You never get that kind of value on the Leafs. If you think they're going to galvanize for their head coach and win a big one, it's not bad value.
What can I get for Oilers in regulation?
Don't know how to look that up.
Okay. Well, that will be something I will be pursuing.
So minus a goal and a half for the Oilers, though, is plus 145.
All right.
So there you go.
I'm interested to watch Nugent Hopkins tonight because he's not on that huge pace that he had last year at over 100 points, probably around 75, 80 points this year. But when this guy looks like he's really engaged in the game, that to me is a measuring stick because you know what Connor's going to do. You know Zach's going to be the exact same player. But when this guy's going, man, it just shoots the Oilers.
I feel like he's a really underrated player. I know he had a huge year last year.
Game.
Me too. And
he's got 38 points.
Yeah, he's on pace for a more normal Ryan Nugent-Hopkins year this year.
That's right.
Last year was nuts. What do you have, 50 power play points last year?
Yeah.
Like it was crazy.
100-plus points. That was wild.
Yeah.
All right. That was Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
All right. Time to pay some bills. And when we come back, we'll get into some news and notes. You guys just mentioned Blackhawks signing Jason Dickinson to a big contract as well.
Money.
We'll tell you why he got such big money.
We will.
Yes, we will. We will. And Elvis is still making noise in the building of the Columbus Blue Jackets as he had a big shootout win against Vancouver. And we'll have some fun with some of his clips. More Kippers Clippers on the national edition of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Back after these words. Welcome back into the studio. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Just going to break. We talked about the Chicago Blackhawks dishing out the cash yet again. Jason Dickinson. Now, is he the rep for the All-Star weekend for Chicago? Now that
is that possibly
Bedard's
true?
Out. Good player.
Sorry, I just watched Lefebvre Brown. I had to watch the fight after I had to watch it. Yeah, he hangs in there till he doesn't.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, well,
I ended my career on one of those feelings.
Well, I was too cowardly to be in them, so credit to you.
Jason Dickinson. Do we have him as an all-star, Sammy? Where are you on this?
I'm looking at it here. I think he's an all-star.
Well, he's kind of paid like one a little bit. He just signed a 2-year deal at $8.5 million.
What is that? What
is it? Like great numbers?
I'm honestly having trouble computing
Yeah.
it. So it's like a salary floor thing.
Yes and no. I think first of all, no one's dishing $1, let alone 8.5 if you don't like the player or you don't see a lot of upside.
Kip, didn't the Canucks have to attach an asset to him to get rid of him?
Yeah. And now it's
Dickinson
wasn't it
and a
changed?
second rounder.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what changed here?
What was his last contract off of? Right? That's just a salary dump. So what was his salary prior
your
to
point.
agreeing to this one?
His salary, he's been making 2.65.
Okay. That's it. So now he goes to 4.25.
His career high is 30 points. You know, this year he's got 21 in 43 games, which is good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It seems really strange to me unless there's something I'm not
Okay,
understanding.
Yeah, okay. So let's dive deeper. Let's go to his age. This
28.
is 28. So now he's in his prime. And
Yeah.
every 28-year-old, even if you don't play like Willie Nylander, you want term. You want security. You can get hurt tomorrow. Your game could go south. You want term. Chicago doesn't give him term. So they give him 2 years. So to get a 28-year-old who's a serviceable player in the National Hockey League, you got to overpay him to just sign a 2-year deal. And I think that's where you come up to 4.25.
I got to tell you, it makes a ton of sense. It's like we're Chicago, and we know we're not a desirable place to play the
Yes.
next 2 years because we're going to lose.
So
You're in your prime. You're giving up.
You can't get these guys to come in at the free agent market because they're all looking for anything north of 3 or 4 or 5. Nobody gets 7 anymore. But a 28-year-old, soon to be 29, can get 4 years.
And also, if
And
you're
he's not-
Chicago,
He's not getting it.
No, you plan on paying other players in 2 years to be with Bedard. I'm talking about whether it's Pettersson. I'm just saying, or whether it's Willie Nylander. I know that's ship has sailed, but that type of guy, like you're thinking, we got to bring in the big UFAs, whatever. So, all right, you're going to give Nick Foligno huge money, 2 years. We're going to give Dickinson the big money, 2 years.
And we're okay with it because we're not a cap team and we're not going there. It's just money for Chicago, for the Leafs, for the bigger markets that can
They're not spending to the
sell
cap,
a
so it's like,
$25 beer.
yeah.
They don't care. So give them 4.5. But we get to
What a coup for Dickinson and Foligno.
Okay, where was this? I had 17 goals and 300 penalty minutes. Where was a Chicago Blackhawks to say, hey, come on over?
Meanwhile, they give you an Applebee's discount or something.
Yeah, a ton of money, and an overpayment to sign a short-term deal. That's how I see it.
So we're talking, about him for the All-Star game. How do you feel that would play with the players? The league forcing every team to have a representative.
Yeah.
I can't imagine Blackhawk fans are like, I wasn't going to tune in, but now that old Dickie's in, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, can we not get another elite player in the game instead?
What's the league's objective here? Because once upon a time, when you were an all-star, you were an all-star.
It mattered. When I was a kid, it
meant
it was in contracts. If I make an all-star team, I earn.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the best of the best that year in a fairly competitive environment. Like, think about, too, all these guys that played in this game and had to win a car. Some of these guys were making like 60 grand, 70 grand. You give them a car. It was a big deal back then.
Yeah.
And here we are in 2024, and these guys are making tens of millions of dollars. And now it's not a car; it's $1 million.
Every sport, in fairness, is having trouble motivating their players to try. Like the Pro Bowl, travesty. NBA All-Star Game is the worst one to watch.
They don't even do. They don't even do the Pro Bowl anymore. It's like a flag football game.
Yeah, and NBA All-Star game, 190 to 180 with a
but there's
new scoring system.
The last 10 minutes of an NBA All-Star game are always excellent.
We'll turn it up.
I think players like to now consider themselves like an all-star, right? My first all-star. Like, they want to still sell it that way, but they really should drop all-star. Like that's dead and buried. It really should be the NHL's showcase weekend.
Player showcase.
You want to throw in a Jason Dickinson on the weekend? Well, you're showcasing here.
Okay.
What's he thinking going?
It's not.
You don't want to change it to the NHL some star game?
The true sense of all-star kind of gets lost when you have to have every representation.
We define it now, I think, an all-star as the voting that happens at the end of the year. Did you make an all-star team? You know, Mitch Marner's the best right winger in the NHL. Whether there's an all-star game that year or
that's
not.
An all-star.
That's an all-star. You know, like that's how you...
All-star selection.
Correct. So this is now,
But they do that in the NBA. The all NBA team at the end of the year, it's like all NBA 1, all NBA 2, all NBA 3, like the three.
And we barely talk about it in hockey. It's a big, it's a bigger deal.
This gets lumped in with that.
I know.
And it shouldn't.
I know. It doesn't feel quite right. And again, no disrespect to Boone Jenner and Jason Dickinson, who are good hockey players, but that's just not. You're not one of the 30 best in the league, and I thought that's what we were trying to do here. That's all.
Okay, we teed up before the break. Elvis in Columbus, who's making a ton of noise. Really,
he's all shook up, isn't he?
He's all.
Sorry.
Pretty good, Morty.
Great drop in, Monte.
Pretty good. He's also making a lot of money.
Yeah, he gets paid.
5.4.
For how long?
For many more.
Okay.
Before we go to this clip, you kind of threw it out there. Would teams be interested in Elvis?
And I'm curious to know.
At that price, he's not Saros, as Sammy has mentioned a lot.
1,000,000 times.
But to get Merzlikins is the same kind of commitment to a Saros. It's like, what's the price and who can afford it?
Well, Saros is this year and next on the contract. Merzlikins is this year and then 3 more seasons at 5.4. So I think it's a different level of commitment.
I'd roll the dice on this guy.
Ooh,
yeah, I would.
Know.
So his last 4 seasons he's a 923 in 33 games, a 916, a 907. He had a bad year last year, and he's back to a 906 this year, which is above league average. He's been good. He's 29. He's 6'3". He makes 5.4. God, that sounds like a pretty tempting dice roll if you're a team that is a goalie away from a cup. And he's competitive. Listen to these clips. He's a maniac.
He's competitive. I don't...
squirrely? Maybe another term for it?
He's a handful. Yeah, that's what I get. So let's go. What do you have for us, Sammy?
We got the clip there, Derek.
Brian, Elvis, there's been a lot of talk in the days leading up to this game. How good did it feel to go out there and let your play speak for itself?
Well, it definitely was an easy game for me. I didn't play it a while. And, I like when I was talking back there, I said, like, when I'm going to have my chance, I'm not going to have time. I have to get right away in the moment in the game, and I tried doing that. I did not like my third goal in PK, but I take it because, again, I didn't play a while. In the start of the game, I did not feel well the puck. Each period was better and better. Third period was awesome. Overtime and then penalty shots, I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, as the game rolled out, that's the perfect scenario for you because you were feeling at your best when you needed to be, right?
I'm just mad. I'm going to tell you honestly. I'm mad, and I'm pulling out the monster out of me now.
How did it feel in that overtime when not only were you perfect in the overtime, but the shootout you handled brilliantly?
Sorry?
The shootout you handled brilliantly.
There was no other choice as a win. I needed this win, and I got it, and now I'm laughing.
Now you can go celebrate a little bit.
A lot.
Thanks for the time, Elvis.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm laughing.
His face in that interview.
That guy is an animal. I can't speak. I'm losing my voice here, boys.
Did you say, and now I'm laughing?
And now I'm laughing. Yeah. I think I just did a French accent, actually. I mean, he's pissed. He doesn't want to be the third string goalie.
Those comments would scare me to trade for him.
I think goalies are nuts in general. I think Tuukka Rask was a completely unhinged individual at times. I think some of these competitive maniacs are like, put him in the net, man. This guy is, and he's been on Columbus. His stats are what they are, and he's on Columbus.
Tuukka.
Bring me the angry, weird goalie.
Tuukka, the
I'm
Providence.
mad, and I'm pulling out the monster out of me now.
Tuukka on Providence.
But this is a guy that could suck a lot of oxygen out of your room.
Or he could infuse it with victories because he's angry and now he's laughing.
That's a great clip. That's one of the best sound clips of the year.
That's right up there with Brad May.
Yeah. This guy means
I'd fight my mom.
I mean,
I think he would fight his mom. Elvis would.
Well, oh, yeah. What is Yarmo going to do? Like, this guy's angry. He doesn't want to be there. So in Columbus, if you don't know the background, is they're developing this Daniil Tarasov.
Yes.
And they're trying to figure out if Tarasov is a starter or not. So they're giving him games because they don't care if they win or lose. So now they made their starter, Elvis, watch games. And Elvis is
Did not
not
like that.
happy. He doesn't even want to be the backup. He
I'm
said,
not a backup.
You got that quote?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't be a backup.
So, yeah,
I
he can
believe
be a
in
handful.
myself. You call me arrogant. I'm not arrogant.
Oh.
I'm just confident.
And later on that quote, he says, I'm going to quote Zlatan Ibrahimovic here. And he says,
Really?
I am not arrogant. I am confident.
Oh, my.
Says, I am not number 2 or 3. I won't be it.
Elvis.
Okay. I should have said to my, I won't be a fourth liner.
And they're like,
I won't be a fourth liner.
like,
Okay, you're a fifth liner then.
Good luck.
You're
You're
a
first
sixth
liner.
liner.
Hershey.
But like, looking at this through, of course, blue and white lenses here, you have Joe Wall, right?
The nicest kid on earth.
Like, you think he's going to be your starter. He makes no money. Like this, if you're trading for this guy, it's so if Edmonton's another example of a team that needs a goalie.
Yeah.
Stu Skinner, this guy's not going to be the backup. He's the starter.
Damn
He's
right.
the starter.
He is the starter.
Like it's a big statement
Yes.
to get that guy
You're
on your team.
trading for a statement.
A statement.
Matt, have you even considered what it would do for our show?
I have not considered that,
If he
and
was
it's a
in
great idea.
Toronto, it would really go miles for us if we had a daily clip from that guy.
Yeah.
Now I'm laughing.
Now he's laughing. Okay, we'll see how much he's laughing. What do you think Columbus would want for him based on what you think he might be and what the numbers tell us?
A handshake. They want to get this guy the hell out of there.
You think?
I mean, they're Columbus. They're rebuilding. I imagine it would be a first.
First? Oh my gosh. That's such a gamble for me.
I don't know if it would be a firstborn.
Think lower?
Well,
Like a second or a third?
What's their leverage?
Well, I
This
guess
guy
the point
makes
is they're trying to unload the
so much
contract.
money
They got
for-
this Tarasov.
And he's in the media pissed. It's like, I don't know. I think you could get him
second
for
rounder?
maybe a third rounder and trade some contracts out.
I think there's a chance he's going to be right there by the end of the year.
In Columbus.
Yep.
I mean, it's the most likely thing.
It's just a hard contract to move, and
So maybe that makes it a third round or a fourth round.
Yeah.
I don't know if the contract's that bad. It's 5.4.
who's-
What do you think a
what-
starting
tell-
goalie
tell-
costs?
like do you see Edmonton trading for this guy? Because I don't.
No.
Do you see Toronto trading for this guy?
No.
Because I don't. Do you see LA
Yeah,
trading for him?
I could for sure.
Well, just having seen them go Corpusalo and
Yeah.
then Talbot, they're searching.
How's
Do they-
Ottawa doing with Corpusalo
Yeah.
right now?
They want another
Sub
inconsistent,
bueno.
another inconsistent Columbus goalie in there.
All right. Also making news in Tampa Bay, Julien Brisebois, who wanted to make it clear that Stamkos will not be traded at the deadline. You surprised by this?
I'm not surprised he said it.
Yeah, I don't think you need to believe him.
Oh, I thought we had a clip.
No, there's no
No,
there's
there's
no clip.
no clip.
Oh, okay.
There's no audio. He did it a writers only meeting.
There you go.
Yeah.
Steven Stamkos spoke out before the season that he was not happy that he had not been offered an extension. I think they need to keep him happy, and I think they consider themselves still Tampa Bay, right? Like they want to be competitive this year, and anyone can win.
I was surprised that he would tip his hand right now on this, but
Doesn't it just like drive
well,
up the
it's
price?
the right for me. It's the right thing to do because he's Steven Stamkos and he's a legend in your organization, and he will stand as the greatest Tampa Bay Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, where does it lead then going into the summer to sign him? Is this a way of setting up an offer that he can and will refuse and make it look like it's his
We're loyal
decision?
to him. He didn't want our deal.
We couldn't go any higher than this. Are you setting him up to walk away from a deal that he won't like, or are you going to get a deal done in the summer?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it would be really hard to commit long-term to Stamkos, who is not presumably going to get better over the coming years and has had some injury issues here and there. I don't know. I get Tampa's hesitation. You don't want to look like the bad guys. And, this guy has been integral to the franchise and won cups and been a great ambassador and all that.
By the way, 41 points in 41 games so far this year for Stamkos. A -20.
What?
Yeah.
-20.
Okay, how about everybody else?
That's a lot. They're all minuses.
Yeah.
I know. It's great. That's a big number.
Which suggests that there is a better chance than they've had in a very long time of missing the playoffs.
They're 1 point behind the Leafs.
So do you think we're in the era where people are so, I don't want to say progressive, but people analyze things so closely where they would understand trading Stamkos as a Lightning fan? If you say, we don't think playoffs are a sure thing, we're going to recoup some assets for this guy rather than lose him.
Well, if we heard Stamkos making noise at training camp, I would imagine he'd probably make a little bit noise about leaving. And I don't think that would be healthy for your organization. I would imagine it's a sensitive organization that has had championships now, and watching a GOAT leave wouldn't sit well with them. So I think it's a good organizational move to wipe out all that noise.
Yeah.
But again, does that mean now you're setting him up for a retirement contract?
I forget what book I read this in, but Tampa Bay is one of the few really progressive analytics organizations. They have been ruthless in the past with some of their decision making.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, really curious to see what happens with Stamkos and the Lightning.
It's a different kind of fan base there, right? It's not,
here.
There, it's like, you traded who?
Yeah.
They're not pouring over his advanced
they
stats.
They may only have 20,000 fans that happen to go to the game.
Yeah.
Right?
And they're like, you traded, who'd you trade?
Yeah.
You traded the captain?
Yeah.
Kyle Connor returns tonight for the Winnipeg Jets. They need help.
Yeah.
Lord. Went 10 in a row. What do they want to without him? A lot.
They did really well, 8 or 9.
Oh,
we
yeah.
talked about the schedule a little bit before the game.
A few tomato cans.
A couple tomato cans.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Enjoy your game tonight. We're right back here tomorrow on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Our thanks once again to Rob Brown.